The mail-order bride arrived beat and broken. The mountain man growled, "You're mine now." Lieutenant Myra Arden gritted her teeth, her fingers flying across the controls. She had trained for emergency landings, but nothing in her academy drills compared to this. The mountains below stretched like jagged teeth, white with frost, and the wind screamed past the cockpit like a wild animal. Myra took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She had been chosen for this mission because she was resourceful, brave, and skilled. But now, staring at the unforgiving cliffs below, she questioned her luck. Her shuttle shuddered violently, throwing her against the seat straps. Sparks erupted from the dashboard and an alarm blared. "Hold together," she whispered to the shuttle, though she wasn't sure whether she meant herself or the machine. The landing gear hit the frozen ground with a harsh jolt. The shuttle skidded across the snow, leaving deep grooves in the icy surface. Finally, it came to a stop, groaning and trembling. Myra exhaled shakily, her heart racing. She was alive. For a moment, she simply sat, letting the cold wind whip against the cracked viewport. Outside, the mountains rose like silent giants, casting long shadows over the frozen plains. The shuttle had survived the landing, but barely. Myra could see the damage immediately. One wing was bent, the thrusters were smoking, and the communications array had been torn from its base. She was alone, truly alone. Her first thought was to check the supplies. She opened the hatch carefully and stepped onto the snow, the cold biting through her suit. Each step sank slightly into the powdery frost, leaving a trail behind her. She moved toward the ridge nearby, hoping to get a better view of the surrounding terrain. The wind howled, carrying with it a strange metallic tang. Myra frowned. There was something unusual about this planet's atmosphere, something that made the air feel alive. She scanned the horizon and saw nothing but peaks and valleys stretching endlessly. Yet in the distance, movement caught her eye, a shadow among the cliffs. Myra froze. The shadow was large, humanoid in shape but not quite human. It moved slowly, deliberately, almost as if it had been waiting. She instinctively ducked behind a rocky outcrop, trying to make herself small. Her pulse pounded in her ears. Whoever or whatever it was, they were watching. The figure stepped into the light. A tall, rugged being, covered in fur-like armor with eyes that glowed faintly in the frost. Myra's mind raced. Could this be an alien, or a human survivor from a previous mission? The Protector, as she would later think of him, seemed to sense her fear. He did not attack, did not approach too quickly. He simply watched, waiting for a sign of movement. Myra slowly rose, keeping her hands visible. "I'm not a threat," she called, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. The figure tilted its head, the faint glow in its eyes shifting with curiosity. Then, almost silently, he moved closer. Myra's first instinct was to step back, but the rocky terrain gave way under her feet. She stumbled, catching herself against a jagged boulder. The figure's massive hand shot out, not to grab her but to steady her. His grip was firm but careful. "You're safe," he said in a low, gruff voice. Myra blinked. He spoke her language. Her heart skipped a beat. Who are you?" she asked cautiously. "I am called the Mountain Protector," he replied. "You should not be out here alone. The storm comes soon." Myra glanced at the sky. Clouds had gathered over the peaks, dark and heavy, moving faster than she expected. She had underestimated the weather. I need shelter," she admitted. Her pride, her training, all urged her to survive on her own, but she realized she didn't have the strength to do it alone. The Mountain Protector nodded once, as if he had expected her to come to that conclusion. "Follow me. There is a cave not far from here. Warmth and safety await. You can repair your ship later." Myra hesitated, then took a deep breath. There was no other choice. She followed him, each step cautious as the wind whipped around them. He moved with a sure, practiced gait, navigating the icy cliffs as if he had walked these paths for a lifetime. Myra stumbled several times, but he never let go of her in the treacherous terrain. As they walked, Myra stole glances at him. The protector was imposing, tall, muscular, and covered in thick fur that seemed natural in this harsh climate. But there was something human in his eyes, something kind and watchful. He didn't speak much, only issuing short, clear instructions, but Myra felt a strange sense of trust. They reached the cave just as the first snow began to fall in heavy, sharp flakes. Myra shivered and rubbed her arms. Inside, the cave was dry and surprisingly spacious, with natural alcoves that could serve as beds. The mountain protector lit a small fire using techniques she had never seen before. Sparks danced across the walls, casting shadows that flickered and danced. Myra sat near the fire, warming her hands, feeling a mixture of relief and awe. She was safe for now. She looked at the protector. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. He shrugged, his expression unreadable. "Because you are human. Humans endure. Humans survive. And you have shown strength by coming here alone." Myra smiled faintly. No one had ever described her that way before. She had always been called reckless, stubborn, or reckless, but never strong. It felt good, encouraging. The storm outside intensified, snow battering the cave entrance, but inside, the warmth of the fire and the protector's steady presence offered a strange comfort. Myra knew that this was only the beginning. The shuttle was damaged, communications were down, and the mountains outside held dangers she couldn't yet imagine. But for the first time since the crash, Myra felt hope. Not because she had survived, but because she realized that humans, herself included, were capable of more than she had ever believed. Survival, ingenuity, and courage could turn the harshest world into something navigable, even conquerable. The protector watched her, his glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. "You will need to be strong," he said. "Tomorrow we explore. There are things here, things that will test your mind and body. But humans are extraordinary. I have seen it." Myra nodded, feeling a sense of determination rise inside her. She was no longer just a lone explorer stranded on a frozen world. She was part of something larger now, an alliance between human resilience and alien strength. And together, perhaps, they could conquer the challenges this unforgiving planet held. Outside, the wind roared and the snow fell endlessly. Inside, a human mind sparked with ideas, strategies, and plans. Myra knew she had the skills, the courage, and the ingenuity to face whatever came next. The first night on the icy planet passed quietly, with only the protector's steady breathing and the crackling fire to keep her company. Dawn would bring new challenges, but Myra felt ready. Humanity had always thrived in impossible conditions, and she would prove, once again, that humans were capable of extraordinary feats. Even in the cold, alien mountains of a distant world, dawn broke slowly over the jagged mountains. Pale sunlight glimmered over the icy peaks, turning the frost into millions of sparkling diamonds. Myra awoke to the faint smell of smoke and the steady warmth of the fire. The mountain protector was already awake, standing near the cave entrance, his eyes scanning the horizon with careful attention. "Time to move," he said, his voice low and steady. "The mountain paths are dangerous, but we must find water and shelter deeper in the range. There are things here, creatures and hazards that will not wait." Myra pulled on her suit and tightened her backpack straps. Despite the chill, she felt energy surge through her veins. Yesterday's crash had been terrifying, but now she was alive, and that fact alone was powerful. Humans survived because they adapted. She was about to prove it. The first stretch of the mountain was treacherous. Snow-covered rocks shifted underfoot, and hidden crevices threatened to swallow anyone careless enough to step wrong. The mountain protector led the way, moving with the confidence of someone who had lived here his entire life. Myra followed, taking each step carefully. She noticed his unusual gait, like he could sense the mountain itself, predicting where the ice would break before it even happened. "Stay close," he instructed. "The winds shift unpredictably. One wrong step and the frost will claim you." Myra nodded, gripping the strap of her backpack tightly. She remembered the first night in the cave, the way the wind had screamed through the mountains like a wild animal. Now, with the sun rising, she saw the scale of the wilderness she had entered. Towering cliffs, frozen waterfalls, and hidden valleys stretched endlessly before her. The sheer size of it made her chest tighten with awe. As they climbed, Myra noticed strange markings on the rocks, tiny scratches and grooves that seemed deliberate. "What are these?" she asked, curiosity overtaking caution. The mountain protector glanced at them briefly. "The native creatures," he said. "They move quietly but leave traces, not dangerous if you respect them. But they are clever. Humans must be clever too." Myra studied the scratches, feeling a thrill of challenge. Humans had always thrived where others failed, finding solutions when survival demanded it. She made a mental note to observe these patterns. They could hold the key to understanding the alien life that called this place home. Hours passed as they ascended. Myra's muscles ached, but she refused to complain. She had trained for endurance, and every step was proof that humans could withstand conditions that seemed impossible. Along the way, she began experimenting with her surroundings, using fallen ice shards to create tools, testing the snow for water, and tracking animal movement patterns. Each small discovery reminded her of her own resilience, and that humans had always been extraordinary in overcoming challenges. By midday, the pair reached a plateau that overlooked a deep valley below. A river, partially frozen but flowing swiftly, cut through the center. Myra's eyes widened. Fresh water, a potential base for exploration. She bent to examine the ice, realizing the river could provide more than hydration. It could power small generators, help with repairs, and even provide safety against potential predators. "The river is our lifeline," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "If we can reach it safely, we can plan repairs and explore further." The mountain protector nodded. "Yes, but the path down is treacherous. We must move carefully." As they descended, the wind grew colder and more aggressive. Myra's suit had protective layers, but the icy gusts found every opening. She shivered, yet her mind remained alert. Humans could endure cold and fear alike. With careful steps and observation, she helped the mountain protector navigate a particularly slippery slope, using a fallen branch to stabilize their path. He raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. "You learn quickly," he said. "Humans are adaptable." Myra smiled faintly. Praise from him felt rare and valuable. She had learned early in life that survival depended on observation, quick thinking, and ingenuity. Here, on this alien mountain, all of those skills were being tested, and she was rising to the challenge. Reaching the riverbank, Myra knelt and tested the ice. It held, but just barely. Carefully, she cut a channel to collect water for their supplies. The mountain protector watched silently, seemingly impressed by her initiative. He handed her a small pack of nutrient bars, which she accepted gratefully. They set up a temporary camp beside the river, using the rocks as natural walls against the wind. Myra pulled out her small toolkit, examining the broken shuttle communications module she had salvaged. "I'll try to fix this tonight," she said. "It's our link to the outside. If we can get it working, we might contact the base station." The mountain protector remained silent, but his glowing eyes reflected a flicker of approval. Myra liked this about him. He did not overpraise, but he noticed skill and effort. Humans thrived when others underestimated them, and she had long been accustomed to proving herself quietly but effectively. As evening approached, Myra explored the area near the river. She found tracks, larger than any animal she had ever seen, with claw-like indentations, but they did not appear immediately threatening. Her analytical mind kicked in. If she could study the creatures without confronting them, she could learn their habits and predict potential dangers. Humans were masters of strategy, and she intended to use that skill here. Night fell, blanketing the valley in cold darkness. Myra and the mountain protector huddled by the small fire. Myra kept her thoughts active, sketching maps in a small notebook, noting the patterns of snow, rocks, and possible routes. Survival depended not only on strength but also on planning, observation, and innovation. Humans had evolved for exactly this, thinking ahead, finding solutions where none seemed possible. Suddenly, a distant howl echoed through the valley, chilling Myra to the bone. The mountain protector's eyes narrowed, scanning the shadows. "The mountain creatures are curious tonight," he said. "Do not fear them, respect them and they may pass. Challenge them and they may not." Myra clenched her jaw. Fear was natural, but humans had always faced the unknown. She reminded herself of every explorer, every pioneer who had crossed dangerous lands for survival and discovery. She was one of them. She would endure. The howl grew louder, closer, but Myra stayed calm. Using small sticks and stones, she created a simple alarm system around their camp. If the creatures approached too closely, she would know immediately. The mountain protector watched silently, his stance protective but relaxed. Humans thrived on problem-solving, and he seemed to recognize her skill. Hours later, the wind died down and the howl faded into the night. Myra sat back, exhausted but satisfied. The mountain had tested her patience, her endurance, and her intelligence, and she had passed. Humans had always adapted to hostile environments, turning them into places of survival, discovery, and even triumph. The mountain protector finally spoke, his voice quieter now. "You are clever, human. You learn fast. That may be why you survive where others would fail." Myra felt a surge of pride. Not arrogance, but recognition of the truth. Humans survived because they never gave up, because they observed, adapted, and innovated. That same drive would carry her forward into the heart of this icy, alien world. As she closed her eyes that night, Myra thought of the river, the plateau, the strange markings on the rocks, and the distant mountains that stretched endlessly beyond the horizon. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, perhaps more dangerous than today. But she was ready. Humans were capable of extraordinary feats, even in worlds that seemed impossible to survive. And Myra intended to prove that, step by step, thought by thought, and strategy by strategy. The first light of dawn crept over the jagged mountains, painting the frozen peaks with shades of pink and gold. Myra stretched and rubbed her stiff muscles, still sore from the climb and long day of observation. The river beside their camp flowed steadily, partially frozen, its icy waters sparkling in the morning sun. She had survived the first day, and now it was time to explore further. The mountain protector was already moving, scanning the horizon with his usual careful attention. "We must go deeper into the valley," he said. "There are things here you will need to see. Creatures, plants, paths, they all tell a story. Pay attention." Myra nodded, pulling on her gloves and tightening her backpack straps. Her mind raced with excitement and caution. The first challenge had always been the hardest. Humans thrived on challenges. They turned danger into opportunity, fear into creativity. Today, she would prove that again. The path down into the valley was steeper than she had imagined. Snow and ice made every step treacherous. Myra focused on her footing, testing every rock and ledge before placing her weight. The mountain protector moved confidently ahead, unbothered by the frost or the hidden cracks in the frozen ground. Myra admired his skill, but also knew she could learn from it. Humans survived because they adapted, even in environments no one else could. After an hour of careful descent, Myra noticed something unusual. A series of strange tracks were etched into the snow, larger than any animal she had seen, with claw-like impressions and wide spacing. They were recent, and they seemed to move toward a rocky alcove in the valley below. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the tracks. "Something passed here last night. It's intelligent, or at least careful." The mountain protector crouched beside her, studying the footprints. "Clever creatures," he murmured. "They avoid traps and travel lightly. Humans can match them if they think carefully. Myra's pulse quickened. A challenge lay ahead, and humans thrived on challenges. She examined the tracks closely, measuring the stride and noting the direction. If we follow them carefully, she said, we can learn their patterns and maybe avoid danger or even find resources. The protector gave a slight nod. Do not underestimate them, but yes, observation is your strength. They moved cautiously through the snow, following the tracks. The valley narrowed, the cliffs rising higher and blocking much of the morning sun. Myra's breath clouded in the cold air, but her mind remained sharp. Every detail mattered. The depth of the tracks, the direction of fallen branches, the faint scent carried by the wind. Humans survived because they noticed what others missed, and she intended to do exactly that. Suddenly, a movement caught her eye. A creature emerged from behind a frozen boulder. It was unlike any animal she had seen. Covered in sleek, ice-reflective scales, it moved gracefully, its glowing eyes studying her and the mountain protector. Its body was long, serpentine, with limbs that allowed it to climb and leap effortlessly across the rocks. Myra froze, her heart racing. The creature stopped a few meters away, tilting its head as if assessing her. She could feel the intelligence in its gaze. This was not a mindless predator, it was clever, cautious, aware. The mountain protector whispered, "Do not panic, stand still. Watch." Myra did as he instructed, calming her racing mind. Humans survived in the harshest environments because they could control fear and think clearly. Slowly, she raised a small stick from the ground and tapped it lightly on a nearby rock, creating a soft rhythm. The creature flinched but did not flee. Myra continued, carefully adjusting the sound, observing its reaction. After a few moments, the creature relaxed slightly, moving closer but still maintaining a safe distance. Myra realized something incredible. It was learning from her. Humans had always adapted by studying patterns, experimenting, and improvising, and here she was, teaching an alien creature without even touching it. Excited, Myra whispered to the protector, "We can communicate, sort of. I can teach it that we are not a threat." He nodded slowly, impressed by her insight. "Clever human, observation and adaptation, these are your weapons." Myra spent the next hour experimenting carefully. She created small patterns in the snow, leaving markers and simple signals. The creature followed, mimicking her movements in a tentative way. Each success reinforced her confidence. Humans were capable of thinking on the spot, solving problems creatively, and surviving challenges that seemed impossible. But just as Myra felt a surge of pride, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. Rocks shifted on the cliffs and the creature hissed, retreating to a safe distance. Myra's heart thumped. A landslide. The mountain was reminding her that even humans' ingenuity had limits. They had to respect the forces of nature. "Careful," the mountain protector warned. "The mountain tests all who walk it. Humans can survive, but only if they are aware." Myra nodded, focusing on the terrain. Using her engineering knowledge, she identified a safer path through the valley, a narrow ledge above the river that would keep them out of reach of falling rocks. She led the way, carefully placing each foot on stable surfaces. The protector followed, trusting her judgment. For the first time, Myra realized that humans were not just survivors. They could guide others safely through danger with intelligence and skill. By midday, they reached a small plateau overlooking the valley. From here, Myra could see evidence of alien life. Nests built into the cliffs, frozen trails along the river, and distant creatures moving with grace and caution. She sketched maps, noted patterns, and began planning routes for exploration. "We must learn quickly," the protector said. "The mountain is alive, it changes. Humans will survive here, but only if they are clever." Myra smiled. Cleverness had always been humans' greatest strength. Their ability to observe, adapt, and solve problems had carried them across planets, oceans, and hostile lands. Here, on this alien mountain, She felt that same spark of human ingenuity. The afternoon brought new surprises. Myra discovered a series of tunnels carved into the rock, ancient, yet intact. Curious, she led the way inside. The air was colder here, and the walls shimmered faintly with mineral deposits. The tunnels twisted and turned, opening into larger chambers filled with alien flora that glowed faintly. Myra was fascinated. Humans thrived in the unknown, turning curiosity into knowledge. She carefully collected samples, documented everything, and marked the path so they could return safely. But exploration was not without risk. The tunnels were narrow, and the floors were slippery with frost. Myra had to think carefully, using tools to stabilize her footing. She improvised bridges from fallen branches and rocks, ensuring they could move safely. Every step reminded her of human resilience. Ingenuity, observation, and quick thinking turned danger into opportunity. By evening, Myra and the Protector emerged from the tunnels, exhausted but triumphant. They had mapped a significant portion of the valley, discovered alien life, and survived the tremors and hazards of the mountain. Myra felt a deep satisfaction. Humans thrived where others faltered because they combined courage with intelligence, and she had proven it today. As they set up camp near the river, Myra reflected on the day. She had faced intelligent creatures, treacherous terrain, and unpredictable mountain forces, and she had succeeded. Humans survived because they adapted, learned, and never gave up. That same drive pulsed in her veins, and she felt unstoppable. The mountain protector watched her quietly, a rare smile flickering across his face. "You are clever, human. You think quickly, learn, and survive. That is why humans endure. That is why you endure." Myra nodded, feeling pride swell in her chest. She had begun to understand the power of human resilience and intelligence. Every challenge she faced, every problem she solved, reinforced the truth she had always known. Humans were extraordinary, capable of overcoming even the most alien and dangerous environments. The wind howled outside, carrying the distant calls of the creatures she had observed. But inside, Myra felt safe, confident, and ready. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more alien life, and perhaps even dangers she could not yet imagine. But she would face them with the same human ingenuity, courage, and determination that had brought her this far. For Myra Arden, survival was not just about endurance. It was about observation, problem-solving, and the unstoppable spirit of humanity. And in the icy mountains of a distant world, she would prove that humans could thrive, even when the odds seemed impossible. The morning sun struggled to pierce the thick clouds that clung to the mountain peaks. Myra woke with a sense of purpose. Yesterday's exploration had revealed tunnels, alien life, and hidden passages. But today, the mountain seemed to call for something greater. The wind outside carried a sharp chill, and the faint sound of distant movement reached her ears. The mountain protector was already on his feet, scanning the valley below. "We go higher today," he said. "There is a plateau beyond the cliffs. It holds resources and challenges. You will need your mind as much as your strength." Myra pulled on her gloves and adjusted her backpack. She was eager. Humans had always thrived when faced with the unknown. It was not enough to survive. One had to observe, adapt, and conquer challenges with intelligence. She would do exactly that. The climb began with a narrow ledge that ran along the cliffside. One misstep could send them tumbling into the frozen valley below. Myra felt her pulse quicken but focused on each movement. The protector moved ahead with calm precision, but Myra noticed something new. The terrain was shifting. Small rocks dislodged from above, and hidden ice patches appeared with each step. "Watch your footing," the protector said. "The mountain is testing us." "Humans can pass, but only if they think." Myra nodded. Her eyes scanned the ledge carefully. Using a small rod from her backpack, she tested each patch of ice before stepping. When rocks shifted, she used them as handholds. Slowly, steadily, they moved forward. Myra felt a sense of pride. Humans were capable of more than just brute strength. They survived because of intelligence and careful observation. Halfway along the ledge, they reached a small cave entrance, partially hidden behind an overhang. From inside came a faint hum, a sound that seemed almost alive. Myra paused, studying the opening. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. The protector nodded. "The mountain has secrets. This is one of them. Humans can learn, but only if they are brave." Inside, the cave was surprisingly large. Crystals embedded in the walls glowed faintly, illuminating the space in pale blue light. Myra's eyes widened. "These could be energy sources," she said, kneeling to examine them. "If we can extract even a fraction, it could power tools or the shuttle." The protector watched her closely. "Do not rush. Observe first. Humans succeed when they understand, not when they guess." Myra carefully ran her hand along the crystals, noting their structure. She sketched a rough plan in her notebook, thinking of ways to use heat and pressure to safely extract energy. The protector handed her a small tool from his pack, a simple metal rod with an insulated grip. "Try this," he said. With delicate movements, Myra tested the crystal. A small spark jumped from it, illuminating the cave. She smiled. Humans had always been inventors, experimenters, and problem solvers. This was no different. Step by step, she worked carefully, learning how to channel the energy safely. Suddenly, the hum grew louder. Myra froze. From a hidden tunnel, a creature emerged, larger and more intelligent than any she had encountered. Its eyes glowed brightly, and its limbs moved with precision. It studied her and the protector, its body tense and alert. The protector stepped forward. "Do not panic," he said. "Watch, learn, and adapt." Myra's mind raced. Humans survived dangerous encounters not by brute force but by strategy. She carefully placed small reflective stones in the cave entrance, creating a pattern of light that caught the creature's attention. It paused, curious but not aggressive. She then moved slowly, tapping the crystal with a gentle rhythm. The creature tilted its head, observing, learning from her movements. For the next hour, Myra experimented carefully. She tested patterns, adjusted signals, and observed the creature's reactions. Slowly, it began to mimic her movements, stepping lightly and following the rhythm. Myra realized something remarkable. Humans could communicate and cooperate even with the most alien beings using observation, creativity, and intelligence. The protector watched silently, clearly impressed. "Clever human, you turn fear into understanding." That is why humans endure. But the cave was not done testing them. A tremor shook the ground, causing crystals to crack and small rocks to fall from the ceiling. Myra's heart raced, but she acted quickly. She used her backpack straps to anchor herself and pulled the protector to safety. Then she improvised a simple barrier with fallen rocks and tools, shielding them from the falling debris. The creature retreated, watching from a safe distance, as if recognizing her ingenuity. Myra felt a surge of pride. Humans thrived not because the world bent to them, but because they adapted, observed, and solved problems even in impossible situations. When the tremor subsided, Myra and the protector explored deeper into the cave. They found pools of water and deposits of rare minerals, potentially useful for survival or repairs. Myra carefully documented everything, planning how to use each resource efficiently. Humans had always turned challenges into opportunity, and she was doing exactly that. Hours passed, and the glow from the crystals faded as evening approached. Myra and the protector set up a small camp inside the cave. Myra prepared a meal from her nutrient packs while analyzing the day's discoveries. The mountain had tested her, the alien creature had tested her, and she had risen to the occasion. The protector spoke quietly. "You see the mountain not as danger but as lesson. Humans do this naturally. They observe, adapt, and survive. You are remarkable." Myra smiled. Praise was rare from him, and it felt earned. "Thank you," she said. I think humans survive because we never stop thinking. We face challenges, learn, and find ways forward. That's what makes us strong. Outside, the wind howled, but inside, the cave felt like a sanctuary. Myra reflected on the day. She had faced an intelligent alien, navigated treacherous terrain, and discovered hidden resources, all through careful observation, problem-solving, and courage. Humans had survived on countless worlds, and here, on this alien mountain, she was proving that same truth. Night fell and Myra settled beside the fire. The alien creature remained outside, watching, curious but cautious. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, perhaps more dangerous, perhaps more complex, but she felt ready. Humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, planners, and creators. The mountain protector nodded toward her, his glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. Tomorrow you will face another trial, he said. But humans succeed because they do not panic. They observe, they think, they act. You are a human. Myra closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the fire and the knowledge of her own ingenuity settle in. She had turned fear into understanding, danger into opportunity, and observation into action. Humans thrived because they learned, adapted, and never gave up, and she had shown that clearly today. As she drifted into sleep, she thought of the mountains beyond the cave, the alien life that watched silently, and the challenges that awaited. She felt a quiet certainty that humans could conquer any obstacle with intelligence, courage, and creativity. And tomorrow she would continue proving it. The morning sun barely reached the frozen peaks. Clouds hung low, heavy with ice and snow, and the wind howled across the valley like a restless beast. Myra woke with determination. Today would be the greatest test yet. The mountain had tested her strength, her courage, and her intelligence, but now it demanded one final challenge. The mountain protector was already awake, standing at the cave entrance, scanning the jagged cliffs above. Today, he said, we go to the highest plateau. There, the mountain will reveal its secrets and its dangers. Humans can survive, but only if they are clever and brave. Myra tightened her backpack straps and nodded. Humans had always survived against impossible odds because they adapted, observed, and solved problems. She would do the same. The climb began immediately. The path was steeper than anything she had faced before, narrow and icy, with sheer drops on either side. Myra moved carefully, testing each step, using small metal rods to probe the ice. The mountain protector led the way, moving with the confidence of someone who had lived in this mountain for years. Halfway along the ascent, the ground trembled beneath her feet. Rocks shifted, sending small avalanches down the cliffs. Myra froze for a moment, then quickly remembered the lessons she had learned. Observe, adapt, and act. She found a large boulder, anchored herself against it, and used it to stabilize the path. The protector followed, impressed by her quick thinking. You are clever, he said. Humans survive because they act when others panic. You are living proof. Myra felt a surge of pride. Humans thrived not through luck but through ingenuity. Every step forward reminded her of generations of explorers, inventors, and pioneers who had faced impossible challenges and overcome them. As they neared the plateau, the wind grew stronger, almost violent. Snow whipped against their faces, reducing visibility. Myra's teeth chattered, but her mind remained focused. The mountain tested not just strength, but strategy. Humans had always excelled at solving complex problems under pressure, and she intended to do just that. Suddenly, a massive ice formation blocked the path, a frozen waterfall, slick and towering, with no obvious way to climb. Myra studied it carefully. She could attempt to scale it blindly, but that would be dangerous. Instead, she observed the ice, noting cracks, ledges, and hidden grips. Using small tools from her backpack, she created handholds and footholds, improvising a path up the frozen wall. The protector watched silently as Myra worked. Step by step, she climbed, testing each hold, adjusting her tools, and moving with precision. Humans survived by thinking, not rushing. She reached the top, breathing heavily but triumphant. The protector followed, his expression one of respect. At the plateau, Myra's eyes widened. From this height, she could see the vast expanse of the mountains, the winding rivers, and the hidden valleys below. But the true surprise was the creatures. Hundreds of alien beings moved across the landscape, some cautious, some curious, all intelligent. Myra realized that this plateau was a hub of life, a center of the mountain's ecosystem. Understanding it fully would ensure human survival. Myra knelt and examined the ground. Patterns in the snow, markings on rocks, and the movements of the creatures all told a story. She began sketching maps, making notes, and planning routes. Humans survived not just by strength, but by observation and adaptation, and here her ingenuity was proving invaluable. The mountain protector stepped beside her. "Do you see?" he asked. "The mountain tests all. Humans pass not because they are strongest, but because they think." Myra smiled faintly. She had always known humans were clever, but seeing it here, in this alien world, made her proud. Every step she had taken, every problem she had solved, had brought her to this moment. Humans had always faced impossible odds and survived, but the plateau held one final test. A sudden storm blew in from the peaks, faster and colder than anything she had experienced. Snow and ice swirled around them, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Myra gritted her teeth. Humans thrived in chaos, turning danger into opportunity. She would face this storm as she had faced every other challenge. Using her knowledge of physics and terrain, Myra guided them to a natural alcove in the plateau. The protector followed, trusting her judgment. Inside the alcove, they were sheltered from the worst of the storm. Myra set up small windbreaks using rocks and tools, creating a safe space. She monitored the energy crystals she had discovered earlier, carefully adjusting them to provide light and minor warmth. Humans had always solved problems creatively, and she was doing it again. Hours passed as the storm raged outside. Myra and the protector remained calm, observing the patterns of the wind and snow. She documented everything: the way the storm moved, the reactions of the creatures outside, the stability of the plateau. Knowledge was survival. Humans survived not by chance but by learning and adapting. When the storm finally subsided, Myra stepped outside. The sky cleared, revealing the vast alien landscape below. The creatures she had studied before cautiously returned, moving with grace and intelligence. Myra realized she had learned from them as much as they had learned from her. Humans survived not just by dominating the environment, but by understanding it. The mountain protector approached, his glowing eyes reflecting admiration. "You have faced the mountain and its creatures. You have observed, adapted, and survived. That is why humans endure." Myra nodded, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She had faced the unknown, solved complex problems, and survived challenges that would have overwhelmed others. Humans were extraordinary. They had always been capable of intelligence, ingenuity, and courage beyond measure. As she set up a temporary observation post, Myra reflected on the journey. The shuttle was still damaged, but she now had a plan to repair it using the energy crystals and materials from the plateau. The creatures were no longer threats. They were part of the ecosystem she had learned to navigate. And the mountain protector, once a silent guardian, had become a partner, respecting her skill, intelligence, and courage. Night fell over the plateau, but Myra felt no fear. She watched the stars, thinking of Earth and the countless humans who had faced impossible odds throughout history. Their ingenuity, resilience, and courage had allowed them to thrive in the harshest environments, and she was continuing that legacy. The protector spoke quietly. "Tomorrow you may leave this place, but remember, humans endure because they adapt, learn, and never give up. You are human." Myra smiled. She had proven it to herself. Humanity could survive and thrive even on the most alien, unforgiving worlds. She had faced storms, intelligent creatures, and treacherous terrain. She had observed, planned, and acted, and she had triumphed. As she prepared for the next stage of her journey, the repair of the shuttle and the exploration of the wider world beyond the mountains, Myra felt a profound sense of purpose. Humans were more than survivors. They were thinkers, innovators, and adventurers. And in the icy mountains of this distant planet, she had demonstrated the truth that humans could overcome anything. The night was quiet, the stars shining over the peaks, and Myra felt a deep satisfaction. The mountain had tested her, the creatures had challenged her, and she had endured. She had turned fear into understanding, danger into opportunity, and observation into action. Humanity had triumphed once again, not through luck, but through intelligence, courage, and resilience. Myra closed her eyes, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. She knew that humans, when brave and clever, could survive and even flourish in worlds that seemed impossible, and she was living proof.